smokes. Is this the store computer? Alright. Frontline. Got it. Oh, that's wrong. Just delete. And then Twitch. Twatch. I think so. Is it Frontline Gaming TV? It's not FLG. Am I on the X to close out this window? I'll do my best. What's up, everybody? Sure. Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Are we live?
Audio is live.
Oh, what is up, guys?
What's up, everybody? Check 1 2 3 1 2 3. Check.
Checking, talking, checking. I love that new cavern map, by the way.
Yeah, it's cool.
By the way, I'm gonna take full credit for inspiring it.
You got it?
The artist did it, but it was created in my head long before the artist made it. Nova Star.
What's up, Ray? You got audio over there, Mariana?
We can hear ourselves. Okay.
Rad Bully feels like a Recious episode. I think they all do.
What does a Recious episode feel like? I know what it sounds like, but I wonder.
Feels like warm apple pie, Pablo. Kill Team Stream, I don't know off the top of my head. Sorry about that. Phase that up, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah. What's that?
We're recording audio. The chat can hear us, so make sure. And then all that's left is for you guys to do the great show.
Okay.
I will be on it with the images.
Kill Team Stream, well, you know what? That shouldn't all fall on you. And in regards to that, you email me or call. Not today. We were on a plane a couple hours ago for Jeff's funeral, but talk to me about that because I'm pretty knowledgeable in that area. You may know more than me, but we could probably compare notes.
You guys ready?
We are ready to boogie. Hey everybody, welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Wednesday live cast here on Twitch. Brought to you as always by frontlinegaming.org, where you can get your tabletop gaming goodies all the days of the week, discounted prices, and free shipping options within the continental United States. My name is Reese, I'm your host. Today with me is the one, the only, an endangered species, but we caught one in the wild, brought him here to talk about 40K and all kinds of fun Age of Sigmar stuff, is the Rhino.
That was a long intro.
I could have gone longer. Don't underestimate my endurance, Pablo. And by the way, everybody, his name is not Peter. PD Pop is just a nickname we gave him when we first started working here. And yeah, it's actually Pablo.
It's actually a name you gave me, and it just stuck.
I am the giver of names, the signer of paychecks.
It's true. He writes PD Pop, the Rhino, on every paycheck.
And they all don't go through. So at any rate, we here on Signals talk about all kinds of fun gaming stuff. And if you can't catch the live show, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Wednesdays, you can catch us on all kinds of various other media aggregators, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, however you choose to enjoy the media. Thank you for listening. And if you don't mind, leave us a review, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff so that we can help spread the word. Cool. So the big news for this week is our FLG mat summer super sale is live. We rarely ever discount our mats. Maybe once or twice a year is usually the most that we ever do. So if you've had your eye on an FLG mat, maybe you wanted to pick up a new size. We've come out with quite a few new sizes since the last time we had a sale, which was 8 months ago, the last time we did this. Now's a great time to take advantage of that. All the mats are 20% off. And we have a number of new sizes, as I had mentioned. Kill Team size mats, which is 30 by 22. And we have a wide variety of designs available in that size. Kill Team has been blowing up. So if you've been Kill Team curious, give it a whirl.
What about Warcry curious?
Also the same size for Warcry.
Boom.
I think we're all a little Warcry curious, you know. Should have done it in college. That's a time to experiment, but you know, getting on towards middle age here, you know, gotta expand my horizons a little bit. Also, we have 4x8 mats, which are great for bigger games such as Apocalypse, and the new Apocalypse supplement just came out. So if that's something that your gaming group has gotten all aflutter about, well, there you go. You can pick up a giant-sized Apocalypse mat for your table. The other cool thing is if you're in the United States of America, and I believe it's probably similar in other places, a sheet of plywood that you would pick up at like a Home Depot is 4x8. So it fits perfectly on a sheet of plywood or whatever. And then we also have 6x3 size mats, which are appropriate for games like Star Wars Legion, which is mega popular, and Star Wars Armada. And then there's a couple other games. I think Rune Wars was actually on a 6x3 too, if I remember correctly.
For those of you who still play it.
Yeah, that came and went like pretty quick, which is unfortunate. But so check it out. And then we also are coming out with revealing 5 new designs for mats as well during this. We've been waiting to do it. So we have Ash Waste, very cool mat themed obviously for like a post-apocalyptic or maybe like a dirty snow kind of an environment. And you often hear about ash wastes described in the especially 40K and Age of Sigmar fluff. So pretty cool. We also have Cavern. I think this is one of the coolest designs we've ever made.
So great.
It is really, really neat. And as the name would indicate, it's evoking an underground setting. There's some water. It would be really cool for any tabletop game, but it would be also really, really neat for RPGs. So if you took one of the smaller size mats, like a 3x3, a 4x4, maybe even a 30x22, this would be great for an RPG setting.
And that one I was particularly excited about because when we talked about it, I think I remember recommending it like a year ago, and we talked about how it could possibly work with like the stalactites coming up from the ground, and I think the artist did a really great job. There's light showing in from the caverns, implying that there's holes. It's just, I think it's probably my favorite mat. It's a beautiful mat.
It is really a really good looking mat, and I think it's going to be like you said, you can make some really unique terrain, like using foam and all kinds of stuff to make like cavern walls and like stalactites, like you said, or stalagmites. I can't remember which ones go vertically or horizontal.
I don't think anyone remembers.
Which ones goes up or down. But yeah, very cool mat. And then now we have San Angeles. Obviously, it's a futuristic kind of sci-fi city setting. The name may or may not have been inspired from a very silly. Remember that? Well, the only restaurant was Taco Bell. No, that wasn't Judge Dredd. What am I talking about? That was with Wesley Snipes and Stallone and Sandra Bullock.
And
what was that called? Someone in chat will know.
I'm lost. They already know.
Pyrometheus in chat says stalactites hang tight to the ceiling and stalagmites might reach the ceiling. There you go.
Someone remembers high school.
There you go. Yeah, those little mnemonic, those little like memory tricks are the best. God, what was it? It's gonna bother me now. It was the one where Stallone is a cop and then he like wakes up in the future.
I have no idea.
Dude, as soon as someone says it in chat, you'll remember it. Demolition Man.
Okay.
Loved it. That was such a silly movie.
So great.
But that's what that was may or may not have been where the name came from. You never know. But great future sci-fi city setting. It would be really good for a game like Infinity, but you could use it for any kind of a future sci-fi, cyberpunky kind of feel. Very cool. And then we have Scrubland. It's a new kind of a generic wilderness setting. It'd be really good for anything set on like the plains of the Serengeti or something similar to that. And then these kind of generic, wildlife, natural mats are just the easiest to use, really. So giving it some more variety there. And then finally we have Space 3, and this one is pretty gorgeous.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's what the Space 1 mat, Space 2 mat should have been.
Well, Space 1 is super generic Starfield, very simple. Space 2 has a nebula, which is really pretty. And then this one we went even further out, like making it as different as possible, because obviously in a space setting, there's only so much you can do. But this one's gorgeous, right? And I think it'll be quite popular. So, and again, that's available not only in a 6x4, but in a 4x4, 3x3, 6x3, etc. So check them out. So please take advantage of this sale if you had your eye on a couple new mats. Maybe you and your buddies want to put your pennies together and grab a couple. Free shipping within the continental United States, $99 and up. It's a great time to pick up a couple mats, get some variety in your gaming. All of these are made here by our staff, and they're made with care and pride. They come with a nylon carry bag and an identification tag to make it easy to store them and transport them. So check them out. And if you want to grab one, you have until August 12th to do so, to take advantage of those savings. In other news, GW released the images of the new enforcers. These are, I'm not 100% clear on the fluff. I don't know if these are Adeptus Arbites or if they are just the local police force. I'm still a little unclear on that. But regardless, they look absolutely awesome. I love these models.
Yeah, and I can't wait for people to cut them up, use them up as Militarum Scions or whatever have you for their guard armies as well as their Necromunda armies. And that's actually something I've really loved about the Necromunda models they put out, is they've not only been good for the game, but they've also been good for converting, and they've always been gorgeous models. Yeah,
there's so many cool things you can do. Like when I finally get around to actually making my Talaran Guard detachment, I was going to use Orlok bodies with some third-party like turbaned heads, and they just look amazing. Like there's so many cool conversion opportunities. So the models are gorgeous on their own, really cool. It's awesome to have like the Space Cops and Necromunda. But like you said, I think you could do some really fun stuff making these, like if you had like a scout, if you had a detachment with like a Smash Captain and all scouts, these would be gorgeous and they would work great for scouts. They look better than the scout models, quite frankly. And you have quite a few options with melee weapons, a sniper rifle, and fun stuff. Some of them just have giant pistols. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. The SoCal Open 40K Champs is very nearly sold out. We've been saying for a couple weeks now that it's just inching towards sold out. And with the sale having gone live, as is always the case, people are in the web cards like, oh yeah, I should get my ticket. So we're down to just a handful of 40K Champs tickets left for the SoCal Open event. All the other events are selling steadily, not quite sold out yet. So if you were thinking about coming for Age of Sigmar or Kill Team or Shadespire, there is room, but please grab those tickets soon. However, if you did want to play in the 40K Champs or the 40K Narrative, we are very nearly sold out. And the Champs will be a super major. That's an unofficial term. But basically, once you get into the 256 and up club, you are one of the biggest events in the world. So the SoCal Open is very nearly there. If you want to come, do not wait or you will miss out. So please grab those tickets. For those of you who wanted to attend, we've been getting a lot of emails, Facebook posts, etc., texts and calls about a possible community memorial service for Jeff in Control Robinson, who, as you all know, recently and tragically passed away very young. That's going to be occurring in Mountain View, California on the 10th of August. That's not this weekend, it's the following weekend. And it'll begin at 8 p.m. If you want to attend and you want to get the details on where to go and all that stuff, please fill out the RSVP form, which is linked in the show notes. And there's also a blog post on Frontline Gaming where you can fill that out. We anticipate it's going to be pretty full, and we are trying to get catering and all that sort of stuff sorted out. So please fill out the RSVP form. You won't know where to go otherwise if you don't. But do it as soon as possible if you think you can make it, so that we have time to plan and prepare. This is not the funeral. The funeral is actually tomorrow. Frankie and I are about to get on a plane for that. But that is only family and very close friends. So this is going to be open to the public for the memorial service, or the community memorial, excuse me. It's open to anybody. So if Jeff was a special person to you, maybe you knew him, maybe you didn't, maybe you only saw him on stream, but you want to come and be a part of this, maybe share some, kind of offload some of that emotional baggage that comes along with grief and grieving, and when you lose someone that you care about. Come on out and you'll be around people that are in the same space, and it should be a really nice opportunity to say some words. I know some of Jeff's best friends, including Frankie and myself, are going to be speaking at the service, but anybody who feels moved to do so can. So come on out and kind of help get through the process. And afterwards, I'm sure we'll go to a local bar and tell some fun stories, drink a couple beers, and all that kind of stuff.
And if you can't make it, they are planning on streaming it on Jeff's Twitch channel and Control TV. So if you can't make it and you really want to go and you really want to watch memorial service, I would go to his channel and watch it there live.
Yeah, and it's short notice. It's not. Most people will not be able to come, even if they want to, but you can be there in spirit via the Twitch, and trying to remember a friend and a life that was extremely well lived. So that is August 10th. Again, if you want to attend, fill out the RSVP form as soon as you can, and we will see those of you that can make it or that watch on Twitch on the 10th. All right, upcoming ITC event news and all that kind of cool stuff. So as always, if you like the ITC, if you think it's improved your gaming experience, it's brought you some enjoyment, please consider supporting it through the Patreon. The Patreon money, 100% of it goes into fueling the ITC, paying for server fees, all the crazy stuff that's come as a part of running what is now a global organization. And it helps us to push forward and continue to innovate and to keep it alive. So if that's something that you feel is worth your money, you can support it for as little as $1 a month via the Patreon, and pop on over and give it a look. It's extremely appreciated for those of you who decide to do it. If you choose not to, that's also fine. We have a ton of events coming up this weekend, which I'm starting to sound like a broken record, but this is in madness how many events, how many majors and GTs are coming up.
4 majors. Majors are 58 players and up.
And 6 GTs. Like last weekend was the busiest weekend we've ever had in terms of GT and larger events, and then the next weekend is bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's crazy.
And as I said at the beginning of summer is really when the 40K tournament season really starts to kick off. So if you're looking for tournaments and you're kind of want to scratch that tournament itch and you're in 40K and you're watching this, definitely head over to the ITC website and take a look at all the upcoming events, because there are a lot, and there's probably one in your area at this point.
Yeah, and we're working on some really fun stuff. I was just on a call with the BCP guys last night. Not going to steal their thunder, but there's some extremely exciting updates to the app and to everything coming out. And I think in the very near future, we'll actually be able to have well, I'll let them explain it, but it's going to be, you'll be able to see, like, in a more visual representation, just how global it has truly become, hopefully in the near future here. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of the events coming up this weekend. So we have a major, the MAGS Championship. That's the Midwest Area Game. God, I can't remember.
I don't know, but it's a Gen Con. It's the Gen Con tournament.
Yep, and that's always a pretty good turnout for that. And that's in Indianapolis, Indiana, obviously a Gen Con this coming weekend, which unfortunately we can't make it due to circumstances. But if you were gonna expecting us to see us at Gen Con, we had to change our plans, so won't be there this year. We also have a GT, the Super Secret GT in Tallahassee, Florida. I wonder if it's a secret or if it's super. I'd come in expecting a lot to this event.
Well, that's all they put, Super Secret GT, and their name. They didn't say anything else about the event. So,
but posting it onto the calendar makes it not so super secret.
They posted it onto the Super Secret calendar first.
Yes, you have to have 3D glasses to see it in a decoder ring. We also have the Four Corners Frenzy 2019 in Farmington, New Mexico. The Bad Moon GT Series Heat 3 in London. That's at the Bad Moon Cafe. Another GT, Call to Arms in Wellington, New Zealand. Pretty cool. Yeah, New Zealand is really, there's a lot of events starting to happen there now, which is very cool. We have another GT, the 40K CWL Open, and that's at the Ogre's Den Gaming Club in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We have a major, Into the Hellstorm 3, a 1750 Warhammer 40K major ITC tournament in Sutton in Ashfield, England.
1,750 points.
There's a couple events doing that because the 40K GT in Texas coming up, run by Games Workshop in a couple of weeks. They're doing 1750, and I think a lot of people are trying to find ways to speed the game up. 1750 clearly would speed it up some, but yeah, it's the best thing we've found to get the games to finish on time is the chess clock. It just works because I've been to tournaments where 1,500 points where the games went to time. It's the fishbowl syndrome. You know, it just the games players will take as long as they have time to take. It's just the way it is. Some players are quick, some players are not. But I hope it's a blast and it's a major, so good for them. We have another GT, Peaceful Negotiations in Bristol, UK. Another GT, the Boardroom Brawl 2019, and that's in British Columbia, Canada. A major, the T-Shift Open in Bellevue, Washington, a great event run by our friends Ben and co up there. It's been running for a very long time. If you can make it to a T-Shift event, highly recommend it. They're super fun. And then finally, another major, the SummerSlam GT, hilarious.
Not to be confused with the wrestling event.
Yes, indeed. And that's in Newcastle, United Kingdom.
Right on. And it's great because I think there's more UK or actually out of the US GTs and majors than there are in the US GTs and majors this weekend.
Yeah, it definitely appears that way.
You know, it's a global thing. It's great.
Yeah. And, speaking of which, I've mentioned it a couple times, but I was just on a podcast. Is it La or El? I think it's La Voz de Horus or La Voz de Horus?
La Voz de Horus?
La Voz de Horus.
Were you speaking in Spanish the whole time?
Clearly it was not.
Oh.
I got mucho gusto.
Ooh.
And they were pretty stoked. I can actually speak Spanish fairly well. I hate being put on the spot. It's tough. I'm better when I've had 4 or 5 cervezas and then it just flows because I'm not worried about making mistakes. But they have a 450 person ITC format event in Spain coming up, and I believe it's November. I was on their podcast. We had a translator, Steven from SNN Battle Reports was the translator, and it was crazy because we were talking about in Spain, like the ITC is not super prevalent. They don't really know about it, but one of the main organizers there and one of the hosts of the show went to the Gibraltar event and saw his score, and he's a Thousand Suns player, and he was like, I was ranked 5th in Europe, Thousand Suns player, and he's like, what? And that was like how it piqued his interest, and then they started looking into it, and so now the biggest event in Spain, which is also one of the biggest events in the world, is going ITC format, ITC points. So it's really cool. Like a lot of those players now are going to get a big score, and then they're going to want to go to more events. And that was what he said. He was like, I got my score, and then it was so cool. He's like, I wanted to go to more events that scored points. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we built the system hoping to do. It's to get people to be more involved, to play more games, to have more fun. That's the whole point of it. So it was really, really neat. And again, we've been talking about it a lot, but it's cool to see how international and how many people are coming together, working together, getting excited. Like the German scene has been taking off in a big way. So it's really, really neat to see how much people are enjoying it.
Yeah, and that's really one of the big benefits of a large tournament circuit like this is you get to break down those language barriers, because there's a lot of more people in South America as well who are picking up. I think Venezuela or there was another 40K tournament in South America.
It was Uruguay, Venezuela.
Yeah, that just had their first ITC 40K tournament. It was one of their first 40K tournaments ever, and it's great. I can't wait to see more and more events pop up.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I was like, first of all, you guys should be so proud of yourselves. Like, that's going to be bigger than the LGT.
Oh, it's huge.
The LGT was 430.
450 for your first. I don't know if it's their first tournament, but
no, it's not their first tournament, but it's their biggest tournament. And
yeah,
they had aspirations to try and push up to 1,000 people. So the scene is going bananas all around the world. Like, there's multiple events in China, multiple events in Thailand, in Malaysia. Obviously Australia and New Zealand, all over the place. Like, it's crazy. South Africa has been running events, not like a ton, but they've been steadily doing them for years now.
And that's the way you grow those things, right? Is you have a couple GTs, maybe once or twice a year, and then you start to have more, and then you start to have your signature country event where everyone goes, and then it grows into something special.
Yeah, and that's it. As I've always said, it only takes one motivated individual to be the seed from which a thriving community grows. Like, if you think about it, in every crew, there's like one or two people that kind of like do the heavy lifting of organization. And it may sound like a chore, but it's not. It's very fulfilling. So if you're out there and you want to kind of get involved with this cool thing that's happening in the match play scene, just jump in. You know, people want events to go to, and it's very fulfilling to work hard, build an event, see people come, enjoy it, and walk away from it going like, I can't wait to come again. Which, you know, the whole veteran gamers re-enlisted crew, Ray and Rob and all those guys just ran the Slaughterfest GT this past weekend. It was their first event. Actually, it was their second, but it was their first big one. And it went off really well, and they had a blast, and they were super excited about it. So it's very rewarding to get involved, right? And so we have a lot of tools to help people kind of get over that hurdle of like, oh, how do I do it? Because it's intimidating, right? There's money involved, and you know it can be a little bit much, but there's a lot of support structure now. So if anybody out there is an aspiring TO, it's a great time to get involved. So let's take a look at upcoming Age of Sigmar ITC events, and this is going to be for the month of August. We have a GT, the AOS Gen Con Championship at Gen Con in Indianapolis. The T-Shift Open 2019, also up in Bellevue, Washington. The European Singles Championship 2019, and that's at the ETC. Then we have the GT Ordo Fanaticus Club Challenge AOS GT in Vancouver, Washington. A major, the War Games Con Age of Sigmar GT in Austin, Texas. War Games Con is an awesome event. Highly recommend going to it. We actually ran it for a couple of years. And finally, a GT, the CCBB 2019.
Capital City Bloodbath.
Oh, is that?
That's the Capital City
Nice.
Bloodbath.
Nice, and that's also a long-running event, and that's up at the Red Dragon Comics, Cards, and Games in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Awesome. Let's take a look at your current 40K ITC top 5. So a name that you probably are unfamiliar with at this point in this season. Let me tell you, it's a dark horse. Who knows how it's going to go, but it's a guy named Jim Vessel. He's still in first place.
Yeah, and you know, this is a common trend the last couple of years. Is generally one person will be the front runner the whole year,
For the majority of the
and
season.
and just no one can catch them. And it's always something different, someone different every year too, which I think is pretty interesting.
What I've noticed, the first 3 months of the season is the Wild West.
Yeah.
Like you get like, because it's just like, depends on where you live, how many big events you have access to, and it's just kind of like the people who jump out there front runners. It's crazy time. But what we've seen happen is that people that jump out like get a pretty good lead in the beginning, like Jim and TJ, Manny, all these names we've been saying all year long. They smell it in the air, like they can feel that this is my year, and then they go to every event they possibly can because they're making their run for they're making the run for the gold, right? And so it's interesting because there's always the guys that always go to all the events, like they're regulars on the tournament scene. But when you see those people that can tell, like, oh, I got that feeling that this is my year to go for it because of, like last year, it was Brandon's year, right? We were saying his name all year. This year he's getting married. He has a bunch of life stuff going on. He's still doing really well, but it just didn't really work out. Or the year that PJ Pants won, he knew he was getting married the next year and buying a house and all this stuff. And he's like, this is my year. I'm going for it. And he went to every single event he could. And we've been seeing the same thing with Jim. Like, Jim came out of nowhere, and the year prior.
Well, no, nowhere. Well, he was a good player before. But
last year, most people did not know his name.
That's true. That's
fair.
I mean? That's fair.
And then this year, he's just smashing. He's going to all these events. And TJ Lanigan in second place, same story. TJ goes to a lot of events, period. But this year, the wind is at his back. He's kicking ass. And you're just seeing him at like weekend after weekend after weekend. So it's really cool because you see this where the guys know, like, okay, or gals, like, this is my year. And they just keep going to events, keep getting better, keep succeeding. And that's why you see their names kind of get stuck at the top.
Right.
They're earning it.
Absolutely.
And then the third place, we got Manny Chima, who is a UK player, very good. Fourth place, a guy that's always up there in the top 10. He took a while to get warmed up this year, but Nick Nanavati's jumped into fourth place. That's a name everyone in competitive 40K is familiar with.
Currently, he's running Tau.
Yeah, I saw that. I was
interesting.
Like, what happened to the orgs, buddy?
That's if I could look at the least Nick Nanavati army I could possibly think of, a Tau gunline would probably be it.
The Tau are doing extremely well right now on the strength of those god dang drones.
Remember, Nick, they can't summon demons. They can't shoot twice. They can't close combat. So
yeah, but they drone.
They drone.
Oh, I got bonked on the head twice at Slaughterfest with by Tau. Although I did hilariously win my last game, which that's a story we'll have to share because it was comedy gold.
So great.
It was RJ should have tabled me. Instead, on the power of Abaddon and amazingly good luck, I managed to win that game. It was hilarious. Although we didn't record the game.
Oh, we'll have to talk about it later. We'll have to.
Oh, that was funny. And then, of course, another Tau player, Richard Siegler from Florida, in fifth place. And he has been steadily climbing the rankings and displacing a lot of other players. So well done to them. And you know what? Let's give a shout out. Our boy, Jeff Robinson, Spirit, still hanging in there.
Top
in
10.
Eighth place.
1,000 points.
Well done, buddy. 40K ITC Hobby Track, top 5, and we've said it almost every week, but again, this is unprecedented. Jim Vessel is in first place. Never had a competitive player rank so highly on both, although the Hobby Track is relatively new. Lou Rollins, who won it last year, is climbing the rankings. He's got back into second place. Well done, Jim. You're going to have to, can't sit on your laurels because these guys are gunning for you. Paul Winters in third, Jason Bird in fourth, and Andrew Ford in fifth. Your Age of Sigmar current top 5. Oh my gosh.
It's a 0.3 point race.
So the Jersey kid has been displaced. Oh my gosh. Somebody call Ricky Valley. This is unheard of. The French overlord Jeremy Vessier has displaced his friend and our buddy as well, Matt Pashby, who has dropped down into second place. Paul Jarzeski goes into third. Dutch Adams moves down into fourth. And Chris Bergman in fifth. Well done. Age of Sigmar Hobby Track, we have Ricky Fisher jumps into first place. Philip Berdusco into second. Natasha Thomas in third. Rich Waters moves into fourth. Matt Beasley in fifth. Still getting some momentum there, but it will catch on in time. Current Shadespire, top 5. Tony Field continues to lead the pack, followed by Ivan Cho. Jonathan Colson in third. Philip Santamaria in fourth. Kevin Cruz in fifth. Well done, guys. Kill Team, current top 5. The one and only Michael T. Holy, still in first place. Will anybody beat this guy?
He's supposed to be really good.
Apparently.
Really, really good.
Apparently. Ryan Hebb moves into second place. Georgie Garnett goes into third. Alex Gritton in fourth. Frank Delikus in fifth. If you hear a crazy noise in the background, that's because one of our manufacturing pieces of manufacturing equipment just decided to start its self-cleaning system. That's always a good time when that happens. We have no control over it, though. Probably won't be able to hear it too much, but anyways, it's shocking to us. So we had a million events over the past 2 weeks. We didn't cover top 4 results last week because we were, because of everything that's been going on. So I'm not going to go through every event because there's so many. As you can see, I'm going to just go over the results of the last 2 weeks. So who were the winners and the losers? And this is taking a look at top 4 placements again, thanks to 40kstats.com. So in the last 2 weeks, which we had a ton of events, Chaos and Imperium came out tied, although, and this is just by my personal ranking system, it's not anything objective really. Well, it is objective, but different people could look at it in different ways. Basically, I assign each faction 4 points for first, 3 points for second, 2 for third, 1 for fourth. So Chaos and Imperium both had 25 points in the last 2 weeks, although Chaos had 3 first place finishes, Imperium only had 1. Imperium kind of filled out the middle of the pack. Chaos is becoming more and more popular, as we've been seeing. Eldari they're sitting there in third with 19 points, followed by Tau. Necrons had a huge couple of weeks here with a first, second, third, and 2 fourth place finishes. They've been steadily climbing in the faction rankings.
It's funny because we keep breaking them down, calling them a bad faction, and like Necrons, they rise up and they keep rising up better and newer than ever, like the T1000.
Yes,
they're coming for us.
Yes.
One thing I want to give a special shout out to is Tau and Necrons. Chaos, Imperium, and Eldari, of course, are all super factions. They've got access to allies. They have access to powerful combinations. Tau and Necrons don't. Yet they made the top 5 with respectable scores. And I imagine if you were to break the Chaos, Imperium, and Eldari into single factions, Tau and Necrons would be even higher.
Yeah. And the other thing you want to take a look at is representation in the meta. Chaos and Imperium and Eldari, but especially Imperium, are so overrepresented. Like, that is by a mile the most people are playing Imperium, followed by Chaos, and Eldari is in third place. So it makes sense that you're seeing them put up the most wins because they're the most represented. But then you look at like Tau and especially Necrons are very underrepresented. Tau not as much. Necrons are one of the less played armies. But the Necron community is dialed in on the things that work, and they really haven't gotten anything new, right? Like, it's not like they got a new supplement or, a detachment. Like, they're working with the same tools they've been working with all edition, but now they've got it figured out.
Yeah.
And it's to me, the downside is that there's not a lot of variety in the lists. They're all pretty similar, but it's better to have one tool in your toolbox than none. Looking at you, Grey Knights. Wah, wah. But it's usually the triple Doom Scythe, triple Doomsday Arc, Tomb Blades, maybe Destroyers with some Immortals and support characters. That's pretty much what you're seeing, but it works.
Yeah.
I get scared now when I play against a good Necron army. I'm like, ooh. Like, for example, Don Husin, who's been kicking ass, got creamed by a Necron army at Slaughterfest. He has some bad dice, to be fair, but they got the tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with Knights coming on, those Doomsday Arcs will absolutely destroy Knight every turn, outrange it.
And can't be very little damage in return.
They fly and take very little damage in return. The Necrons are definitely a good counter to Knights and Imperium lists, and now that Chaos Knights are on the field, it's maybe a good chance for Necrons to come in and steal a few more wins.
Yes, they've been performing better and better. AdMech, this is interesting. This is we've been seeing this pattern. This is one of the only mono-faction Imperial armies that has been steadily performing well. The FAQ and the Invigilis gave them so many tools. They're very competitive. Like, pure AdMech had a first place and a fourth place finish in the last 2 weeks. And again, that's not an army that's played a lot. So well done to them. Gene Stealer Colt threw up 1 first place finish. Pure Imperial Knights threw up a first place finish. Now it was Andrew Gagno, who's one of the better players in the world, in my opinion. So, take that into consideration, but a lot of people didn't think you could possibly win with pure Imperial Knights, and he won a GT.
Yeah, well, if you throw enough darts at a dartboard blindfolded, eventually you'll get a bullseye.
A million monkeys with a million typewriters. Orcs are a great faction, but this is the first time in a long time when they didn't win an event. They got a third and 2 fourth place finishes. Pure Astra Militarum, who I am shocked more people aren't playing them. They're so good. Mr. Brandon Grant piloted him to a second place finish at Slaughterfest, only losing to a mixed Chaos army, and it was only because he didn't realize how good Abaddon was in combat versus Imperium. He does now. Pure Custodes throwing up a second place finish. That was Bridger Hahn, who is leading the pack right now. He's number 1 Custodes. Forces of the Hive Mind, which is not an actual faction, it's one we made up to describe mixed Genestealer cults. They got a 3rd and a 4th. And finally, we had a Chaos Space Marine player, pure Chaos Space Marine, throwing up a 3rd place finish. So, a lot of variety.
One thing that's really surprising is Dark Eldar, because pure Dark Eldar is a very good competitive faction, and they didn't throw up a top 4 finish in the last 2 weeks, which I think is kind of surprising. Obviously, it's only 2 weeks, and we don't have the complete data. But I just thought that was kind of interesting.
They usually do. They're one of the best single codex factions in the game. And typically they do have someone out there like a Skari or somebody who's extremely dedicated and good Dark Eldar player, or Drakari. But this week I didn't have the time to break down the sub factions. If you really want to go take a look at it, go to 40kstats.com, or better than that, get a subscription to BCP so that you can look at all the lists. But Drakari and all these Eldari, armies that performed well, Drakari was in every single one of them. Either as the main component or as, throwing in Ravagers and, some flyers. So they're very prevalent. I would say that they're more represented in the Eldari soup combo than Azuriani, but it does vary. So looking at a rolling 2-month average with my very simple system, let's take a look at the winners and the losers. And this is as of this last weekend. So Imperium continues to lead the pack with 54 total points, and followed by Chaos. Again, there should be no surprise there because those are the 2 most popular factions in the game. But then the big one, Tau, is crushing it. They are just kicking ass. It is so difficult to get through all those goddamn drones. They just have the endurance to keep shooting all game, or until the end of the game. And a lot of times you just run out of gas by the time you plow through the drones and actually are able to attack them.
Yeah, and previously, as a Knight player, I always found my Tau matchup pretty easy. But now that Knights lost their 3-up invuln, which was really popular among Imperium Knights, it really gave Tau a huge advantage in that matchup. And obviously that's a matchup that Tau players see every single tournament they go to because there's so many Knights. And that's probably not the only reason why Tau are being so successful, but Tau are really well placed right now in the meta. Chaos lists are going more and more elite style with the Lord Discordants and Chaos Knights. We're even seeing more, Daradeos, more Magnus, more Mortarion. So Tau don't have to kill as many hordes that are getting into them like Genestealer Cult, like Orcs, although those matchups are still there. And if you're an Orc or Genestealer Cult player, maybe now's the time to jump on this meta train at the end of the summer and beat up on some Tau.
Yeah, it's something you need to think about. Like, a lot of Tau players were kind of down. They felt like their faction was underrepresented. Although I have noticed that a lot of Tau players, in general, describing the community, have a little bit of a persecution complex. It's maybe it's justified, maybe it's not, but they do always feel like everyone's out to get them, like me.
Everyone is.
I know, someone call Ricio, get him on the case, because the Tau, they're getting uppity, man. Someone needs to put them back down in their place. Of course, I'm kidding, but people out there are going to think I'm not. Oh well. You need to plan for it because it is so difficult to crack that nut. And in tournaments, I think I'm just slightly up on beating Tau than getting beaten by them. If you don't have really good shooting, it can be just a bear. As a melee army like this weekend, I really felt it was such a struggle to get through all that shooting, and then of course the Overwatch. You have to be really tricky and clever to do it. Eldari is next up, and that's mixed Eldar. To no one's surprise. And funny enough, Eldari get a lot of negative energy sent their way, but I feel like in this instance, it's actually not fully justified, right? Like, they were the boogeyman in 7th edition, definitely, in 6th edition, definitely. In this edition, they've been good. They had some crazy stuff, like with Ynnari, definitely got a bad reputation. But now, aside from the ultra annoying Eldar Air Force, which no one likes to play against because it's so silly, they're actually totally fine. They don't deserve the negative attention that they get. What's your opinion on that topic?
So the Eldar flyer list is, I think, the actual Eldari list that most people think of when they think of a competitive Eldari list. Other than that, I've seen a lot of really cool, unique combinations, and there have been more Dark Eldar players coming out and running pure Dark Eldar since the Eldar nerfs. So I don't know. I think Eldari are probably if the Eldar Flyer were ever to get nerfed, specifically the Crimson Hunters and the Hemlock Wraith Fighters, I think we probably see even less Eldari lists make the table.
Yeah.
But maybe not. I mean the triple Ravager, Cabal the Blackheart detachment with Eldar good stuff and maybe Harlequins is always going to be a staple in the faction. So maybe
Yeah,
not.
Harlequins do really well, and they're always hovering around the top tables. Usually not pure Harlequins. It's usually a Harlequin detachment that does something that you need it to do, like the Death Chesters, the Solitaire, the Haywire Bikes, etc. But the one thing I've noticed is I'm a big Asuryani player. I play pure Asuryani. Is that it's really difficult to play the screen game with them. That's the part that they really suffer from. And then if you're playing like ground-based Eldar and you're playing against like an army like Genestealer Cult or Bloodletter Bombs, stuff like that, it's so difficult for them to counter that because they just don't have the cheap, efficient screen units. Like the best thing you have is like Storm Guardians, and it's a challenge to like keep them to have the endurance for that unit to do what it needs to do. Like, in my opinion, not using the cheesy flyer screen, which is so dumb. But if you took that away from them, like I see them beating Genestealer Cult like 1 in 5 games.
Yeah.
It's just they don't have the ability to counter it.
Yep.
Even the intercept with a forewarning or whatever it's called, like yeah, you're gonna kill one unit, but like when you're playing against an army that's gonna spam a ton of units coming out of reserves, it doesn't matter. They can lose that unit and they're still gonna cream you.
Yeah, and Genestealer Cult players also have the option to put their powerhouse units on the board and then put them back into reserve so that they come in turn 5, turn 6 when there isn't any CP to use to intercept them. Just a good matchup for Genestealer Cult.
It is. It really is. And like Ray, our teammate, who's usually top rank Asuryani, I think he still is.
I don't know. I haven't
he won it last year, but like he was saying, he was like, if I couldn't stop people from moving with my flyers, like melee armies would just run me over. Especially if they go first. And I have to agree. As much as I think the Air Force list is like so unenjoyable, it's non-interactive. I really don't like it. It's kind of like that's the leg they're standing on right now in the competitive scene. So, you got to take the good with the bad, I suppose. And then pure Orcs. Next up, Orcs have been doing really, really well. They got so many good things. That super shock attack gun that they got in Vigilus is like, that's been like marked. If you have that unit in your Orc list, you do like significantly better than if you don't. So if you're an Orc player out there, take your Ludas, take a shock attack gun, and then do kind of whatever else you want with the rest of it.
Yeah, Jeff Poole, a really, really good Eldar, really good Tau player, brought his Orcs to Slaughterfest, did really well with them. Orcs are great. They're the only other faction to put up 6 first place finishes in the last 2 months, other than Chaos, which is impressive. Thanks, Rich Kilton. You guys can all give a big wah to him and his impressive showing.
I think he's got half of those.
But the Orcs are good. They're not played a lot compared to the other factions. I think there's more Tau than Orcs, although I'm not exactly sure without looking at the numbers. But there's a lot of really good elite Orc players who you always have to watch out for. So they're not necessarily a faction you should build to beat, but there are definitely top players that you should definitely think about if you want to do well.
Yeah, and what the cool thing is that we've seen that I would say like 50% of the winning Orc lists are very similar.
Yep.
But then you've got about 50% of them that are just all over the place, right? Like dual Gorkanauts. I like a gentleman who did really well this past week and had like 3 DACA jets and vehicles. So people kind of like, there's a lot of follow the leader in that occurs in match play, and it's understandable, right? If someone has got success, you want to replicate that success. It's just the way it is. But then there's a lot of creativity in the Orc list too, more so than I've seen in other Xenos factions like Tau and Necrons. Where Tau, you basically have your Triptide, Broadside, Drone, or the vehicle list, which is really cool. Like at least there's 2 very distinct different lists that are both very good. And then Krons, where it's like it's almost the exact same list. But so that's cool if you're an Orc player. There's quite a bit of variety there. Pure Asuryani is sitting, Necrons follow Orcs, which is totally goes against what you would think. Like a lot of people out there online are still parroting Necrons suck, they're bad, you can't win. Well, no, that's just not true.
So Necrons have 16 points for the last 2 months. Most of those points are scored these past 2 weeks, right?
About half of them.
About half of them?
Yep. So yeah, Necrons they're coming up big time. Then we got Asuryani, that's pure Eldar, and almost all of those are Air Force armies, unfortunately. Drukari sitting pretty right under Asuryani, and there's a wide variety of armies in there, which I thought was really cool. If you pure Drukari armies, they're very diverse. The one thing you do see a lot is triple Ravagers with maybe some flyers, but outside of that, there's like grotesque spam lists. One of the lists,
Venom spam.
They have a lot of variety in that army. Admech is the first solo faction Imperium army in the rankings. Very cool. They got a ton of help, like we were saying. Then you got Gene Stealer Cult, Forces of the Hive Mind, Chaos Space Marines, Astra Militarum, which is almost entirely Brandon Grant, Custodes, Imperial Knights, Blood Angels, and Tyranids. Tyranids are on the board.
Blood Angels
What?
Put up a second place finish.
Thomas Oki got second place at the Boise Cup, and it was amazing. Like, I was like so impressed. I was like, Thomas, slow clap.
That's lightning hitting twice.
Yeah. And look, if you want to read his battle reports, they're on Frontline Gaming. They're very detailed. So if you're a Blood Angels player and you want to see how in the heck did he do this in an extremely competitive tournament, go check it out. They're really interesting. So here are some completed commissions that were painted by the FLG Paint Studio recently. We've got Tech Priest Engine Seer. Very good looking model. The new plastic kit is so cool. I need to get one in my Imperial Guard or my Astra Militarum army. I don't know why I haven't yet, because I run a lot of tanks, and having one of these guys, like having an apothecary in your space, like if you're playing Space Marines, you don't have an apothecary, you're doing it wrong. Like, you got to do it. The ability to heal and bring guys back is so good, and healing your tanks is amazing. And apropos, Thomas said that his Sanguinary Priest, his apothecary, was like one of the most critically important models in his army. And then we have some Sniper Hobbits, aka Ratlings, which I think this might actually be the first Ratling commission we've ever done.
We don't see enough of these models. They're probably some of my favorite models in the range. They're great. They're just hobbits, Bilbo Baggins with sniper rifles.
Frodo and Samwise, and their little too broy relationship got a little strange there at the end, or not. Maybe it wasn't broy enough.
Definitely was a little too broy.
I know. I was like at the end there. I was like, man, this is getting a little weird, but that's okay. So Ratlings, I'm surprised more people don't take them. Like, I always wonder why. I always ask myself, like, why don't I take them? They're a really efficient sniper unit, and the fact that they can shoot and then move is pretty cool, right? Like, you could, if you're in a position where you want to take a shot, but you know you'll die in return, you can, boogie out of the way.
So let me tell you why. One time I found a player playing Ratlings, and he had a 3-0 record at the LVO, and I was like, wow, you're playing Ratlings? Like, I asked him pretty much a similar question, and I noticed all of his Ratlings were the guy holding his sniper rifle up like this. And he said, well, the reason why is because you can't see over ledges a lot because they're so short models, and you want them to shoot things, so they never get line of sight to anything. So he bought 5 packs just for the guy holding a sniper rifle up, just so they could shoot over ledges.
Which otherwise they may not actually be able to.
So,
that's a questionable call, but I understand the logic.
He didn't want a model for Van. He didn't want to put them on boxes or anything, which I think would be pretty funny.
I think that'd be fine, because it's the rule of cool, right? Like,
right.
If you make them a little taller by putting them on a scenic base, that means that they can shoot but also be shot. That's one of those kind of gray areas.
You should put a Ratling on top of another Ratling's shoulder so that they're standing, and then maybe give them like a cloak or something, or a trench coat.
Yeah, like the little kids pretending to be an adult in the cartoons. They always do that. All right, so let's answer some questions before we wrap up the show. And as a reminder, the FLG Mat Summer Super Sale is going through August 12th. If you want to get some new mats in various sizes and designs, we got a lot of new designs. You have until then to do so. 20% off and free shipping options, $99 and up within the continental United States. So if you want to pick up, usually 2 mats is the magic number. You can further save money on the shipping.
Wait, while the questions are queuing in.
Brad Booley says Grey Knight players are crybabies. That codex is totally legit. That's not a inflammatory statement.
Reese, tell us about your game against RJ at Slaughterfest. We have to hear this.
So Slaughterfest, great. First of all, a great event. It's at Pachanga, which is a casino and resort.
Pachanga.
Pachanga, excuse me. About an hour away from San Diego. It's near Murrieta. Oh, it's in Murrieta. It's near Temecula. Really pretty out there. It's a super nice, like nicer than many of the places in Vegas. Only downside, it's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get out there if you're flying. Relatively minor downside. It's the same thing at like Adepticon or something. But super fun event. The guys did a great job. Big shout out to the veteran gamers re-enlisted, Ray, Rob, everybody. Andy, you guys did a tremendous job, especially considering you're new. Had a ton of fun, and I recommend anybody go to the next one. But I went 3-3 with my Corn Army, not my best showing. Had a lot of fun though. Learned a lot. My army definitely had some weaknesses, some things I'm going to tweak. My last game, I played RJ. Awesome guys playing Tau, and I was like, God dang it, I drew Tau again for my last game because I got creamed in round 2 by a Tau player who it was his first tournament ever.
Was it really though?
He was like, he's like, I was really prepared for this. He's like, I practiced and I studied and I listened to the podcast and stuff. So he came in like, he was like, oh, it's my first tournament. I was like, oh man, okay, we'll take it easy. It'll be a learning game. And then he deploys in like a perfect castle, and I was like, okay, already. In that game, let me tell you the highlight of that game. His 2 Riptides, I counter deployed him really well. His 2 Riptides have to use Mont, whatever it is, the advance, twice. He couldn't shoot me at all in the first turn. Second turn, barely gets his 2 Riptides into range with like almost no buffs on him. He does like, I can't remember, like 20 wounds or something like that to me, and I only made like 4. It was ridiculous. Like I had a 4-up invul save. My knight explodes. I roll boxcars on the explosion, and then it does 14 mortal wounds to my army, and I was like, cool. I was like, man. I shouldn't have died, period, first of all. Like, second of all, what the hell just happened? So that didn't go so well. So anyway, RJ and I were playing. RJ's awesome opponent. We were having so much fun. There was like, by the time we got to the end of it, there was like 12 people watching too because we were laughing so hard. Basically, RJ was kicking my ass, and I got first turn. I did everything I could. I was charging from behind ruins out of line of sight to minimize the overwatch, blah, blah, blah. But it just really wasn't going my way, and one of my bloodletter bombs failed the charge from reserve, and when that happens, the wheels come off the bus. It's like a 92% chance of making it. So then a whole 20-man unit got nuked without doing anything, and then I was like on my back foot, getting a little salty, if I'm going to be honest. I was like, God dang it, like my army just sucks so hard against Tau. And then Abaddon runs, so RJ had all of his stuff on top of a magic box, a building.
Oh, hold on. We have to talk about the magic dice.
I'm getting there.
Okay, all right.
So Abaddon makes it across with my Exalted Champion, my Smash Prince. They all make it in. They kill a bunch of stuff, but it's mostly just drones. And I'm just like, I'm like, God damn it, drones. I go under the building because Abaddon, none of the suits can go into the building. Abaddon goes into the building, but he only has 1 wound left. And I was like, well, RJ, if you don't kill him, I'm going to heroically intervene in your turn up a level to engage you in combat with no overwatch. So I was like, that's my only hope. And, you got me. We'll see how it goes. So he proceeds to shoot Abaddon with every smart missile he has. It's all AP1, all ignores cover, and just lays into him. And I'm like, man, this sucks. And then our buddy Roman walks up, and his wife Charlie, or Jordan, what am I saying, Roman? Jordan, his wife Charlie goes, oh, hey, these are some cool dice. I thought you'd have them. I just want to give them to you as a gift. I was like, oh, well, thanks so much. I was like, oh, I'll use these. Why not, right? So Abaddon takes like 13, 14 wounds. And again, it's a 3-up save, and he only has 1 wound left. And I proceed to make all of them. And everyone was like, what? I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
And these dice weren't loaded. RJ took the magic dice and rolled them himself and rolled a 1 and a 2. Well, he rolled 2 1s and then re-rolled one of the 1s to a 2.
Yeah.
So they weren't loaded. They were just re-loaded.
I mean, and he and I have been like drinking beers and stuff too, because we were just like, we're both 2 and 3. Who cares what happens? We're just having fun. It was hilarious. But then RJ had moved so that I didn't have room to come up a level, so I couldn't heroically intervene. And I told him what I was going to do, and he saw it anyway. He's a good player. So then Abaddon killed the rest of the drones. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, that was funny, but there's no way in hell it's going to happen again. Next turn, RJ does the same thing, shoots all the smart missiles into him, does 50, was it 50? It was like something like that, like 13 or something wounds again. And I was like, oh, there's no way. There's no way he's going to make it. I was rolling them 2 at a time because I only had 2 of these dice. Anyway, I make them. Everyone's like, oh my God.
It's like a craps table. There's like 15 people around at this time, all shouting at these magic dice and Abaddon at 1 wound.
Yeah. And I make it. And on the last roll, I roll the last 2. I fail 1. And RJ's like, yes, finally. And I'm like, CP reroll. make it. It was 20. I made 25 3-up saves. It was ridiculous.
Crazy. And then Abaddon, of course.
Rises up from below, and we were all laughing. It was like WWF. Like the lights start going and music starts playing. Abaddon's coming out.
It's every Chaos player's dream, right?
Yes.
Is to get Abaddon into a Tau gun line
to
alive.
All of them. With
yeah.
no drones left whatsoever. So he proceeds to just slaughter everything. Oh, it was one of the funniest 40K moments I've ever had in my life. Like we were dying laughing. It was so funny. So at the end of the game, I actually ended up winning, although we didn't record the game, so who cares? It didn't matter. But it was so much fun, and I had maybe 3 models left on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
El Mastodonte, Abaddon, and the Demon Prince, who was actually doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah, the Demon Prince was, because I refused to charge anything that could kill him in Overwatch. He was just killing everything. Yeah. Oh, and Little Bow Wow got all my behind enemy lines points.
Little Bow, Karanak.
Little
yes. Bow Wow.
I always tell people, I'm like, if you kill my dog, it's John Wick time. I just want to warn you. Don't kill the dang dog, or the gloves are coming off. Yeah, that's his job usually, is that he go hide somewhere and gets mission points.
It's what Korn intended him for.
We were crying. We were laughing so hard. It was one of those wonderful 40K moments when it's so absurd and so unlikely to occur that it's something you'll remember forever, right? And that's why the random element of the game is important. It's fun. So RJ, thank you for the amazing game. That was one of the most fun games of 40K I've ever had. Really enjoyed it. So,
questions?
See if there's any questions. Everyone's just laughing in the chat.
I think they were preparing them and then they stopped.
Let's see.
Give them a second.
3 and 3 ain't bad. Yeah, it's not. Thank you, never mind, John. But it's not terrible, right? Like I usually do better than that, but I had fun, and ultimately that's why you go to the events. Like one of the games I just lost. Like the Tau player just smashed my nuts. Like that was just the way it was. If I got first turn, I might have had a chance, but I didn't. And then the other games I lost, I could have won, but I either made a mistake or just like a critical thing didn't go my way. Really fun games. Like my teammate Juniors kicked my ass. Because I learned that when you sally forth with a knight, you don't have to be wholly within 6 inches of the table edge.
Just
only
within.
Partly, which I'm sure that was a typo because everything else is wholly within. But if you're a knight player, that's extremely strong.
I think
that caught me off guard because I thought I had screened out and I didn't.
I think maybe GW thought with that because the knight base is so big, they didn't want the knight to be completely screwed because 6 inches can be a little tight.
Well, the Shadow Sword has to do it.
That's true. That's true. Well, and they even increased it by an inch for the Shadow Sword so they could allow the spawns. Right? It's like I think it's 7 inches.
Yeah, they did to allow the spawns.
But I don't think GW foresaw the pinky toe on the line knight getting ready to sack the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know.
Holly 2380, thank you for your continued subscription. 51 months. Wow, thank you so much. Yeah, VGR raid. There was like a huge crowd around our table. We were on table like 40. Like it was because we were laughing, having so much fun. Everybody was like, "What's going on over there?" And then everybody got into it, and it was so funny. Valerie has a question for Pablo. Do you stop flaming Eldari? Should we take Eldrad about removing?
Should we talk to Eldrad about removing your never win tournament curse? I mean, if I didn't flame Eldari, who would?
The rest of the internet. Apocalypse 448 asks, how and where do we become FLG Patreons? If you want to support the FLG via Patreon, go to the ITC Patreon. There's a big banner ad on the front page of the blog, or any of the ITC pages. There's a banner ad, or I shouldn't say ad. There's a banner that leads you. If you click on it, it'll take you to the place. And you could do it for as little as $1 a month. Depends on what you can afford and what you're willing to give. Let me see. Red Bully, have you noticed a big problem with people hanging parts of their models over the edge of tables? Well, that's something you should call them on because that's in the rule book, right? The entire model must be on the table. That's not even like ambiguous in the slightest. It's kind of one of those things that people let it slide usually because it's not a big deal. But in the instance where someone has like 1 million flyers or something like that, it will become an issue. So you can politely remind your opponent, like, hey, no part of your model can be off the table.
Yeah. And I personally haven't seen a problem or an issue with it. And there's always been some leeway, especially on tables where there's less space to move around. It's just, it really does depend. But I think on Twitch or on a stream, top table, something like that, I think you should definitely be watching your models, making sure they're not hanging off the edges.
VGR Ray, what was our favorite part of the swag bag? I don't know. It was a great swag bag.
The ass wipes. It's funny because you know they're wipes. They were wipes and they were called ass wipes. It's just a fact. But to me, they were my favorite because I'd been using a dry erase marker or a wet erase marker previously at every tournament I'd been to in June, and I just had to like lick my finger and just do. And so when I saw that there were, you know, wipes in there, I was like, yes! And so I just used them up.
A lot of people have been giving out laminated like score sheets, which are genius. I seriously use them every single time I play now. And you get a wet erase pen, and you check off which secondaries you and your opponent get, and you check off your scores. You go, it's the best. Seriously, it's the best tool for playing ITC missions or really any mission that it's applicable to. It just makes it so easy to keep track of what's going on. That was great, and I use those all the time. Fire at Will, thank you so much for your subscription. We really appreciate it. That the money that comes in via Twitch helps pay for Mariana's salary, the cameras, the internet, all that stuff. So it helps it to be less of a burden. Really appreciate it.
Am I now permanent on Signals? No. The Raw Dog stubbed his toe.
He did not. The Salty Banana was he was BJJing another guy and did it wrong and hurt his ankle.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Because when you're BJJing with another guy, you got to get your technique down, or you might get injured, or you might injure them.
Yeah. Anyways, and there was some slight swelling, some mild irritation, maybe some rashes, and so he had to get airlifted to the hospital.
No, he didn't have to get airlifted, but he's limping around. He's like trying to get some crutches, and I'm like, you're too old for the BJJ game. You know what I'm saying? Take it easy, Raw Dogger, or you know, you never know. The Salty Banana is going to be the broken banana.
Is there an official ITC? Oh, we lost it.
Yeah, he tried to double leg somebody, and the banana's been putting on some pounds again lately, and he hurt his ankle pretty bad. So there you go. That's why he's not here. At any rate, thank you all so much for joining us for episode 648 from Signals from the Frontline. We hope you enjoyed it. As a reminder, if you want to go to the SoCal Open, play 40K, or Kill Team or any of the other events, please grab those tickets, especially 40K Champs. There's less than 10 or something like that tickets left. And of course, if you want to pick up a mat, please do so. We would super appreciate it, and it's a great time to save some money. And lastly, if you want to go to Jeff and Control Robinson's community memorial, that's on the 10th of August in Mountain View, California. Fill out the RSVP form, and we'll give you the details. And
if you get a chance, head on over to Chapter Tactics. The last episode number 123, was a special episode dedicated to Jeff, and I thought it was probably one of the best episodes we've recorded yet. It was an episode on the history of competitive 40K, and I had Reese on, I had Paul Murphy on, and Sean Morgan on, and it was a really great episode. And I think a really great tribute to Jeff and what he did for the community. Yeah, and it was a marathon episode, but it was a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, and a lot of really good information. And of course, check out the FLGN Podcast Network, the new cool kid on the block, 40K Stats Center. They're killing it. Their last episode was great. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We all hope you all have a great week, and we will talk to you again next Wednesday. Until then, happy gaming.